Welcome to the HITea with Grace podcast, where we spill the tea on HITea. Today, I'm honored to welcome to the pod Jolie Ritzo, CEO of Civitas Networks for Health. Thanks for joining me, Jolie.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here with you.
And we're thrilled to learn from you. So let's kind of start with the big picture. What is the current state of the HIE market in 2025? And what challenges and opportunities are emerging for networks working to bridge healthcare, public health, and community?
Yeah, those are great questions. We have been doing a ton of work, what feels like around the clock since June, with the emergence of the health tech ecosystem, RFI, and some of the signals that have been coming from the federal government and Health and Human Services. Civitas did respond to that RFI, and we've been working very closely with our HIEs to better understand both their capabilities as well as their abilities to potentially meet some specific and important use cases, as we're learning that Health and Human Services is looking towards a health data enterprise strategy. So we have been convening our HIEs very regularly. So we're a national nonprofit member organization, and we do represent the vast majority of the HIEs in the country that are either regional or state-led. They're not the only members that are a part of Civitas, but certainly a strong subset of our members. And so we really do have the ability to talk HIE and understand where our members are at and what the national landscape does look like. What I would say right now is, more than ever, I think it's really important to remember that this work happens locally, and that, the trust and inclusive governance can't be overlooked. And then all the time, our HIEs are improving and increasing, I would say, their capabilities to meet their various stakeholders' needs. And so what an HIE looked like 10 years ago is not what an HIE looks like now, with the ability to produce much more robust, integrated data sets with a higher quality. And so I think that's brought about some really interesting conversations. They are certainly no longer just in the clinical space, but starting to exchange social drivers of health data, public health data, behavioral health data, and so on. But all of that comes with a lot of responsibility, because they have to navigate not only federal, but also state and local laws that pertain to privacy and security. And they take that sort of responsibility of being data stewards very seriously.
So what is an HIE, so that people know?
So a health information exchange is really the goal of health information exchanges, is to be able to produce real-time actionable data and to support sort of the connections between electronic health records, so that providers at the point of care have the information they need when they're seeing their patients and working to, deliver the most responsive care possible. So I think at a very high level, that's what health information exchanges is doing, is that they're moving those clinical and other types of health records, and they have the ability to make sure they're normalizing the data and that they're doing patient matching and so on and so forth. But we have on our website a pretty sophisticated page that covers sort of all things about health information exchange. So if you're listening in and you want to know more about HIEs, I highly recommend going to Civitas's HIE page and spending a few minutes to read through what HIEs do in terms of enabling the secure electronic sharing of health information. It's really quite complex, but initially you can get some important sound bites to better understand what they're all about.
Interoperability is often framed as a technical goal, but across the Civitas network, there's a growing momentum around what happens after the data moves. So how are members turning shared data into shared accountability or shared solutions?
Absolutely. I mean, really, the goal is to make sure, again, that we're freeing data insights for providers of care, for social service providers and others who are then hopefully going to impact a person's well-being and overall health. And so that really the goal is to free up these records so that we can provide more sort of responsive care. So talking about interoperability, but reframe the question, will you?
Yeah, just asking, why is it important that they are turning shared data into shared accountability or shared solutions?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So I think part of it too is that data is a critical part of overall health improvement, right? I don't think there's any health improvement, quality improvement, population health, you name it, effort that isn't going to rely on data in some capacity. But it would be insufficient to think that, oh, now I have the data, we've solved everything, right? So we need to be able to have sort of the most robust quality data in the hands of those that then can sort of drive the action within the communities that they serve. So I think there's just some really interesting partnerships that you can see. I was reading a story this morning about CRISP DC and work that they're doing to address school absenteeism. And so you don't necessarily think of a health information exchange working with schools to do that, but that's the type of sort of sophistication and different types of use cases that they're starting to get into.
So you have a big national conference coming up. So tell me about that. I saw that spotlighting the power of place-based partnerships.
So we have our annual conference coming up in Anaheim, California, September 28th through the 30th. We'll convene, I would say, somewhere between 750, 800 or so decision makers from across the country. We do bring together health information exchanges, community information exchanges, all payer claims databases. We have regional health improvement collaboratives. And many of our members, they have multi-stakeholder governance structures. So they will invite their board members or other sort of participants from payers, providers, hospitals. We have policymakers join us. We have folks from public health. And we're excited this year to be in partnership with, we have a premier partnership with 211 San Diego. They're a community information exchange, but they also have a national reach in helping others understand their community information exchange model. And then we have many other Civitas members in California, and we have a host committee of about 7 of those members who are helping us to make sure we're bringing some regionality to the event, even though we very definitely are a national conference.
Wow. And so what types of trends are going to be covered at the conference? And what trends are happening in the space that you're noticing, whether it's technological or regulatory or social? What types of things is a buzz in this space?
Absolutely. I think right now, just the power of partnerships can't be overlooked. There's a real emphasis on efficiency, cost of care, prevention, continuing to address social drivers of health. I feel like the term upstream drivers is coming back around. But to do that, I think really leaning into collaboration. But saying that is one thing, doing it is a whole other thing. Collaborative activities take a lot of work and intention, and it requires, close sort of, I would say, commitments to how you're going to sort of move that work forward. And developing shared understanding, potentially sort of partnership principles, while always thinking about sort of the reason, the why behind coming together. So I think we're going to see a lot of that at the conference itself. We're also going to be, I don't think there's a conference you can go to where you're not going to be talking about AI and what it means for health data exchange, what it means for quality improvement work that's happening in this country, how it's changing the delivery of care, how it's impacting patients' lives. And so we'll certainly see elements of that coming through the conversations at the conference as well. I'm personally very excited to sit down and do a fireside chat with Dr. Teresa Cullen. She's somebody who I've been sort of a fan of for years, as not only someone who's dedicated to public health and working with underserved communities, but she's also an informaticist and certainly has been working at a systems level to really create change, which is another part of what makes Civitas special, is that not only are our members working at systems level to bring about improvement, we are also a national network. So when you bring people together, we have such a powerful opportunity to help others not start something from scratch, which brings me back to my initial point around addressing sort of inefficiencies. So coming together, convening, sharing best practices, there's a lot of power in that.
So inspiring. And to think about the diverse environments, they're all coming from rural coalitions to large statewide HIEs. What have you seen really work well when it comes to durable cross-sector partnerships that deliver on a mission? Do you find that there are any interesting strategies these people have when they are choosing to collaborate? Does it help to have a set mission or goal that they're working towards, or how does it work?
Yeah, I think having a set mission is a requirement, and taking the time to establish that first, because anytime that you're sitting around a boardroom table or an advisory or a collaborative, you'll unearth points of contention. But if you have a mission to come back to, it can help you stay focused on the road ahead, I guess. Yeah, so I think that's super important. And I think, again, just maybe creating some beyond a mission shared principles or commitments in how you'll work together. And I know a lot of our members within states do this, and they have to recognize that they're all in on collaboration, but there will be times that they're also going to compete, and that can get uncomfortable. But if they're willing to have candor and a level of transparency, it seems like they're able to work through that.
Never thought of the competitor side. And I guess that's how it's going as these things are growing.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you think about health information exchange and the cost of the technology platforms that are required to run a health information exchange, some of our smaller regional HIEs are up against that all the time. I think over time, we have already seen a certain amount of market consolidation just because there's only so much sort of resource to go around. And when you're in the realm of nonprofit and ultimately doing this for the good of the community you serve, that is often the outcome.
Totally makes sense. Now, for attendees that are planning to be at the event, what recommendations do you have from experiencing the event through the years on what may help them leave Anaheim feeling more connected, more capable of driving change? What advice or encouragement do you want to tell them?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's so important to come to the event knowing that the vast majority of people who come to Civitas are really excited to have meaningful conversations and to deepen connections and make new ones. So I would just encourage attendees, particularly if it's a first time, to not be afraid to put themselves out there, to introduce themselves. Spend a little bit of time ahead of time looking at the agenda, looking at sessions that look interesting, so that you kind of are equipped and ready to sort of make some of those connections and strike up conversations after sessions. We build in a lot of networking time throughout the day, and then we have receptions every night of the conference as well. So attend those events and get to know other people. But this is a really welcoming community. And then certainly if anyone is coming to the conference and they want some extra help, the Civitas team, we are master connectors. We love to connect people. So I would also say if you're coming to the conference and you want to make a connection specifically to somebody else, or you have thoughts about this is what I'm working on, who should I talk to, don't hesitate to reach out to me or the team.
Fantastic. Now, HITea listeners love to learn about what's going on in the industry, but they also love to learn from women leaders about their journeys. So can you tell me a little bit about the career path that brought you to Civitas as the CEO here?
Of course. So I will say, first and foremost, I have always been somebody, like I was thinking about when I graduated high school, my senior speech, like I talked about justice and standing up for what's right. And that's something that means a lot to me, and it always has. As I got going, when I started college, I at that point thought I was going to be an English major. And then I took as long as I possibly could to declare my major. But I ended up working on community health. And the reason I got there was having grown up in rural Maine and seeing some of the inequities and the lack of access to care and what that actually means for people in those settings. I pretty quickly sort of had a desire of, we can do better, and I want to work on this. And then after college, I took a little break from that and I taught for 7 years. I went back to sort of that desire to when I wanted to be an English major, and I taught English and then civics and health and wellness for 7 years. But during that time, I knew I had more to do. So I put myself through my master's while I was teaching. And then from there, got a master's in public health. And then even after graduating from my master's program, I was, okay, what's next? I started working for an integrated health system in the Portland, Maine area, where I was on the health plan side of the business, but we had 9 delivery sites. There was a tremendous opportunity if we managed our beneficiary population that were also receiving care through the organization, what we could do to sort of drive down cost utilization, but also bring about better outcomes. So I was there to help work on the chronic care programs and building up a team of health coaches. We were learning motivational interviewing. It was also when sort of, I feel like, starting to address social determinants was very new. We were building out community networks with social service providers, and we used to just track things on Excel spreadsheets. But from there, I went to the Network for Regional Healthcare Improvement. And when I left that organization to join ENRI, I really had no idea what ENRI was, but I was like, this sounds interesting. It's a national network. They're doing really cool work throughout the country in highly collaborative ways with multi-stakeholder approaches. Sounds great. So I just took every opportunity I could there to learn about this systems level work that I really had no idea even existed. And as I was working at ENRI, I got more engaged with our policy committee. I helped to lead our affordability advisory and campaign. And then we entered into conversations around bringing ENRI and the Strategic Health Information Exchange Collaborative closer together, and was a part of the leadership team that formed to bring sort of Civitas to be. And at that point, I was helping with our communications and marketing work and kind of our overall member engagement and event strategy. My whole thing, every step of the way, has been, even if I've been a little scared, to lean into new opportunities, to take those chances, to not be afraid of the gray area and see where it goes. And so it's a real honor to be in a position now to be leading this organization.
That is so inspiring, and you are a badass, I just have to say. So that is fantastic.
Thank you
for letting us learn from you.
Yes.
I think about what drives women leaders like yourself. You're a busy woman, but you also have a personal life. What are things that you do to work your best and make a difference so that you can show up and run this amazing network and do all that you do with all the skills you've built?
Yeah. Okay. So a lot of things. I'm a mom, so I have a 14-year-old son and an 11-year-old daughter. So I love spending time with my kids. They're super cool. They have all kinds of different interests. So doing things with them brings me a ton of joy. My husband and I love to be outside. So whether that's this time of year swimming or taking a walk in the woods, or in the wintertime going for a cross country, those kind of things. I am a certified yoga teacher. I do enjoy being on my mat as a way to just kind of relax, calm down, stretch out. And then this is really funny. People who know me well know that when I really need to just like step away from the day, my property where I live in Maine is pretty heavily wooded. And so I just go pick up sticks to clean up grounding.
Legitimately.
Yes. That, or this time of year, picking weeds out of the garden, those kind of things. And then guilty pleasure is just binging various great series. So I just finished The Bear, which was dramatic and fun. And so things like that too.
You want to enjoy and have strength in your home life so that you can work your best to make a difference in your career life. If you could give your younger self a piece of advice, what would that advice be? As we're kind of encouraging young women that are in the space, what would you tell your younger self?
I would say lean into commitments. I wish I had learned that earlier, because in my younger self, I felt like it was limiting, but really I have found over the years, the amount of freedom that comes from just going all in on a commitment is actually wonderful. And so I think that's my piece of advice.
I love it. Now, to finish this conversation off, where can our listeners find you online?
So I mostly hang out on LinkedIn. That's my preferred social media from a professional standpoint. I do have personal accounts also on Instagram, primarily. A little bit of Facebook still. That's mostly for family members. But yeah, LinkedIn is where I spend a lot of my time.
Fantastic. And where can they find out more information about the event?
So the Civitas website has a conference page that is dedicated to all things conference. You can find out more about registration, the agenda itself, our sponsors. We have FAQs. We have a communications toolkit. You name it, it's there. If you want to buy a t-shirt or a sweatshirt when you come to the event, even that's there too.
Tell us about Bridget.
Yeah, so I'm going to give credit to Kelsey Matheson-Daly, our Director of Communications and Marketing. She designed Bridget, but she is our bear that is helping us bridge data. Really, the whole premise of Civitas is our members are national infrastructure for health. And whether they are moving data or they are using data or they're doing both, it's really important if we're going to actually move the needle on health in this country.
That is terrific. Now, before I forget, did you happen to bring tea with you today? Tell us about your mug.
Okay, so this mug, my dad showed up sometime this fall, and he's funny. He drives this like old white Mercedes. He's 75, and he blows into my house, and he's like, "Joe, I just finished a mug that I think you need to have." And so he has been dabbling again with pottery. He was an art major and did that for a time years ago before he became an educator and went in a different direction. So that's where my mug is, and I absolutely love it. Inside my mug, do you want to know what I'm drinking?
Absolutely. Tell me it all.
Yes. Okay. So I have a honey lavender tea this afternoon, which is quite nice. It's like just the right little bit of sweetness and very aromatic, lovely. And then I was waiting because I thought we could reveal the message on the tea bag. So without the storms and rain, life would cease to be. It's kind of dramatic.
It is really dramatic, but also very true. We need the storms and rain to have the flowers, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It was awesome learning from you. I'm so excited to attend the event in Anaheim this fall and see you there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see you there.
And thanks to you folks for joining us too. Check out the HITea with Grace podcast website for more interviews with great guests like Jolie today. Cheers.
Like a Girl Media is more than a media network. It's a community. We want to meet you and amplify your voice and the voices of outstanding women innovating in healthcare. Interested in starting your own podcast or hosting an event near you? Connect with us online or in person. We're here to support and empower you.